Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining us in this fourth session of the series Deadline or Death Sentence, State Violence and Adivasi Indigenous Peoples' Resistance in India. My name is Lotika Singha, and I speak on behalf of International Solidarity for Academic Freedom in India and London Mining Network. We are honored to have with us today Damodar Turi, human rights defender and convener, Visthapan Virodhi Jan Vikas Andolan, VVJVA, a movement against displacement and for people's development. Dr. Darshan Pal, President, Krantikari Kisan Union, India, and Viju Krishnan, the General Secretary of the All India Kisan Sabha. Before I do invite our first speaker, I'd just like to remind everyone of what we have covered so far since we are coming back after a bit of a break. Our first speakers, Soni Suri and N. Venugopal, described the current intensified state violence in indigenous Adivasi lands in the Bastar division of Chhattisgarh in central India. And now I'm going to jump to the third session. Nandini Sundar and Megha Behel described the abysmal failure, or more so, the complicity of the judiciary in this violence and the devastation of lands and livelihoods of the Adivasis. In session 2, our speakers, Rinchin and Prashant Paikre, had explained about how the state corporate nexus is ravaging two Adivasi regions and the struggles against them. The coal-rich Raigad area in North Chhattisgarh, where the multinational Adani Group has key interest, and neighboring Odisha, where POSCO and also Vedanta are implicated. We had also shown a short video report by Malini Subramaniam, which was in a village called Badgaon in Bastar itself, where the villagers were resisting the impending coming in of an iron ore project. And they were doing this by actually first resisting the what they had seen was the police camps coming in. In the words of the late Father Stan Swami of Jharkhand, behind the police brutality is an administration, behind that is the government, behind which is the ruling party, and behind it are all the corporates. But all the exploitation, oppression, resistance, and repression in Bastar and the other Adivasi regions is not happening in a vacuum. It is connected to India's broader economic and industrial developmental policies, policies that over time are more and more favoring corporates rather than the people. Across India, farmers and laborers are amongst the groups that have been holding seminars, conferences, and other solidarity actions against the state violence in Bastar. Our speakers today will help us in connecting the dots between these many battlegrounds across India. The dispossession and displacement of Adivasis from their forested lands, the attempts to corporatize agriculture through the 3 farm laws in 2020, and we will also talk about the broader changes and workers' rights, whether it's in mines or factories or in the service industry. I will now request Damodar Turi ji to speak. दामोदर तुरी जी, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है हमारे साथ और बहुत शुक्रिया जोहार आपको हमारे साथ आज जुड़ने के लिए। अब मैं रिक्वेस्ट करती हूँ कि आप अपनी बात से शुरू करें।
जी, आज का इस वेबिनार में लंदन माइनिंग नेटवर्क और इंसाफ इंडिया में जितने लोग जुड़े हुए हैं, आप सभी को जोहार और अभिनंदन पेश करता हूं। साथ ही साथ अभी हाल में ही झारखंड के अगुवा दिशम गुरु शिबू सोरेन और स्टेन स्वामी प्रोफेसर जीएन साईं बाबा पांडु नोरेटे सहित आदिवासी भारत के आदिवासी इलाकों में संघर्षरत आदिवासी राइट्स के लिए जल, जंगल, जमीन और उसकी संस्कृति के रक्षा के लिए अपनी प्राणों की जो आहुति दिए हैं, उन सभी को मैं भावभीनी श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता हूं। आज का इस वेबिनार में जो मुझे विषय दी गई है, उस विषय के अनुरूप मैं अपनी बात को विधिवत शुरू करने से पहले लंदन माइनिंग नेटवर्क और लतिका जी, पूजा जी, जो आप लोगों ने मुझे मौका दिया, आप सबों को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। आज कॉर्पोरेट लूट की जो इतिहास है उसे थोड़े हमें इतिहास के पन्नों में जाना चाहिए। हमारे देश में, भारत में कई विदेशी लोग आए, जैसे मुगल भी आए और मुगल के पहले पुर्तगाली भी आए, उसके बाद अंग्रेज भी आए। और ये जो आदिवासी बहुल इलाके हैं, बिहार, उड़ीसा का इलाका, मध्य प्रदेश का इलाका, गुजरात का इलाका, महाराष्ट्र का इलाका, आंध्र प्रदेश का इलाका में मुगल ने कोशिश किया था आदिवासी इलाकों में अपना थोड़ा रूल करने का, मगर वो सफल नहीं हो पाए। लेकिन जब 1600 ईस्वी में ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी आए, और ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी आने के बाद जब उन्होंने अपना व्यापार शुरू किया, सूरत से शुरू किया, और जब आदिवासी इलाकों में इंटर किया और जब उन्होंने रूल करने शुरू किया, खास करके उनके जो आदिवासियों का जो जीविका का संसाधन है, जल, जंगल, जमीन, संस्कृति, पहाड़, जिन पर उनका जीविका निर्भर करता है, और उन जमीनों को मतलब हड़पने की कोशिश की और उसमें कर लगाने की कोशिश की, तो इन इलाकों का इतिहास बताता है कि बहुत सारे विद्रोह हुए। झारखंड, छत्तीसगढ़ के इलाके जो अब जो पहले मध्य प्रदेश और बिहार के इलाके में आते थे, इन सब इलाकों में विस्थापन का एक पुराना इतिहास रहा है। और उनके विद्रोह का आंदोलन जो रहा है वो बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग रहा है, मजबूत रहा है। आदिवासियों का विद्रोह हमारे झारखंड में मतलब 1700 1800 के आसपास शुरू करके पिछले जो 300 400 साल, 425 साल का जो इतिहास बताता है विद्रोह है, वो विद्रोह किस लिए है? उनका जीविका का संसाधन जल, जंगल, जमीन है, और उनकी संस्कृति है, उनका पहचान है जल, जंगल, जमीन। इसलिए वो विद्रोह लगातार एक के बाद एक विद्रोह आया है, और उस विद्रोह को ब्रिटिश सैनिक ने, ब्रिटिश शासक ने उसको दबाने का कोशिश किया है। 1811-12 से लेकर के बिरसा मुंडा आंदोलन तक, 1895 तक का जो विद्रोह रहा है, कई तरह के विद्रोह हुए हैं उस टाइम में, और उस विद्रोह को दबाने के लिए मार्शल लॉ और कई तरह के कानूने उन्होंने लाया था। और संथाल विद्रोह जो सबसे बड़ा विद्रोह झारखंड का रहा 1855-56 का, नीलांबर पीताम्बर का विद्रोह, बिरसा मुंडा का विद्रोह। और इन विद्रोहों का ताकत और स्रोत कहां से मिलता है? मैं इस ऐतिहासिक विषयों में इसलिए बात कर रहा हूं कि जो डेडलाइन का बात है कि ये विद्रोह का ताकत का स्रोत क्या है। वो ताकत का स्रोत है क्यों एक के बाद एक विद्रोह को ब्रिटिश कंपनी, ब्रिटिश शासक के सैनिक ने उनको बलपूर्वक दबाया, और दबाने के बाद भी एक विद्रोह को खत्म करता है, दूसरी विद्रोह होता है, कुछ ही दिन में विद्रोह का अलग रूप लेता है। और वो सभी विद्रोह का ताकत कहां से मिलता है, उसका ताकत का स्रोत क्या है? तो ताकत का स्रोत है विद्रोह उठ खड़ा होने का, जन आंदोलन होने का, आंदोलन होने का, अत्याचार, अन्याय, जल, जंगल, जमीन की लूट, जीविका के संसाधनों की लूट, वो ताकत देता है जहां से विद्रोह को ताकत मिलता है, आंदोलन को ताकत मिलता है, उस आंदोलन का पूंजी है। वहां से जब हम आगे बढ़ते हैं तो ब्रिटिश शासक ने ये समझने का कोशिश किया था कि इन आदिवासियों को जो आसानी से जान दे सकते हैं, अपने जल, जंगल, जमीन के लिए मर मिट सकते हैं, मगर ये पीछे नहीं हट सकते हैं, तो उन्होंने सीएनटी कानून लेके आया। और कई इलाकों में आदिवासियों की जल, जंगल, जमीन की सुरक्षा के लिए ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट ने कई तरह के लॉ, कानून बनाया ताकि इनका जल, जंगल, जमीन सुरक्षित रहे। उनको समझ में आ गई थी कि इनसे लड़ना मुश्किल काम है, इसलिए सीएनटी जैसे छोटा नागपुर टेनेंसी एक्ट, काश्तकारी अधिनियम बना करके दिया। उसके बाद जब हम आगे बढ़ते हैं, लोगों की एक बड़ी उम्मीद थी कि जब हमारा देश स्वतंत्रता आंदोलन में भी 1855-56 का जो आंदोलन है, जो 1857 का प्रथम स्वतंत्रता संग्राम कहा गया, और 1855-56 में जो संथालों का विद्रोह है, सिद्धू कान्हू का जो विद्रोह है, तिलका मांझी का जो विद्रोह है, ये सारा विद्रोह इसलिए है और कि जब हमारा देश आजाद होगा, जब हम आजाद होंगे, ब्रिटिश का गुलामी से जब हम आजाद होंगे, तो हमारा जो हमारे ऊपर जो अत्याचार है, हमें जो झारखंड के आदिवासियों को जो माइनिंग के जरिए जो कोल माइनिंग डैम कारखाना से जो आदिवासियों को चाय बागान में, आसाम के चाय बागान में, कलकत्ता जैसे, दिल्ली जैसे महानगरों में जो विस्थापित होके जाना पड़ा, उन्हें आशा उम्मीद थी कि आजादी मिलेगी, तो हमें शायद इन सब चीजों से जो हमें बंधुआ, जो हम जंगल के मालिक थे, जो जंगल के हम राजा थे, जो जंगल में हम हमारा सब कुछ जीवन यापन निर्भर करता था, वहां से निकाल करके, विस्थापित करके उनको एक मजदूर बनाया गया। उनकी उनके पत्नियों से उनके बहन को मतलब हर तरह के शोषण किया गया और उनको बेगारी कराया गया। यहाँ सामंतवाद, पूंजीवाद, कॉरपोरेट का जो लूट चला, इसमें जो सभी तरह के जो शोषण हुए, उस शोषण के खिलाफ में जब पूरे देश में ब्रिटिश से आजादी लेने की बात हुई, तो आदिवासी भी लड़े। आदिवासी आंदोलन भी स्वतंत्रता संग्राम के साथ एकजुट होकर के मजबूती के साथ, और जिसका परिणाम हुआ कि 1947 को हमारा देश को राजनीतिक आजादी मिली। आजादी के बाद का जो सफर है हमारे देश का, आजादी के बाद जो हमारा देश सफर करता है, और उसने जो हमारे आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी, उन्होंने जो कहा कि उन्होंने जो मॉडल दिया कि ये जो हमारे माइनिंग होंगे, जो कारखाने खुलेंगे, जो डैम्स बनेंगे, वो विकास का मंदिर होगा। लेकिन हकीकत ये है, इस विकास के मंदिर में लाखों आदिवासियों को, ये बहुल राज्यों का जो इन राज्यों का जो मैं नाम पहले जिक्र किया, उन राज्यों से लाखों लाख आदिवासी को घर से बेघर होना पड़ा, आपका अपना जीविका संसाधन खोना पड़ा। उसके बाद आप अगर उस सफर को आगे देखते हैं, तो आजादी से भी लोगों को बहुत जल्दी भ्रम टूट गई कि हमारी और दुर्दशा हुई हमारे विकास के नाम पर। इस विकास के मंदिर में लोगों को फिर से बड़े पैमाने पर बेदखली, विस्थापन, अत्याचार सहना पड़ा, जमीन की लूट, ब्रिटिश सामंती जो ताकतें थी, ब्रिटिश के बाद, ब्रिटिश के साथ भी और आजादी के बाद भी सामंती ताकत गांव में इनको जमीन से बेदखल करना, इनको बंधुआ मजदूर बनाना, इनको दोयम दर्जे का नागरिक समझना, ये जारी रहा। तो फिर इसके खिलाफ में 1967 में बंगाल के नक्सलबाड़ी गांव में किसानों का एक सशस्त्र विद्रोह होता है। उस विद्रोह, वो विद्रोह क्या है? सामंत के खिलाफ है। जमीन मालिक को जमीन, जो आदिवासियों के पास जमीन था, जमीन हड़प ली गई, उनके महिलाओं के साथ शोषण किया गया, उनको बेगार किया गया। इसका परिणाम था नक्सलवाड़ी। उसके बाद से हमारे देश में कई कानून बने, जो दमनकारी कानून है, जो निवारक नजरबंदी कानून है, मीसा है, टाडा है, पोटा है, एस्मा है। इस तरह का यूएपीए 1967 से लेके कई बार अमेंडमेंट होके 2008, 2019 अभी तक यूएपीए चल रहा है। तो ये जो सफर रहा है, फिर जब हम इसके आगे बढ़ते हैं, तो लोगों को लगा कि छोटे राज्य में जब झारखंड जैसे राज्य होंगे, छत्तीसगढ़ जैसे राज्य होंगे, राज्यों का एक आया पॉलिटिकल पार्टियों के द्वारा, लोगों के द्वारा, कुछ बुद्धिजीवियों के द्वारा, कि जब छोटे राज्य में होंगे तो शायद हमारा विकास संभव होगा। मगर छोटे राज्य के रूप में आज भी परिकल्पना जो है, जो झारखंड को पिछले 25 सालों से देख रहे हैं, जो छत्तीसगढ़ को पिछले 25 सालों से देख रहे हैं, और फिर गोरखालैंड का मांग जोर हो रहा है, फिर पूर्वोत्तर के कई राज्य हैं, नागा आंदोलन, मिजो आंदोलन, ये सारा जो है अभी लोगों की उम्मीदें हैं कि छोटे राज्यों में शायद आदिवासियों का जल, जंगल, जमीन, संस्कृति सुरक्षित रहेगा। मगर पिछले 25 सालों का जो सफर रहा, छोटे राज्यों का जो कंसेप्ट रहा, जो हम छत्तीसगढ़ को देख रहे हैं, जो हम झारखंड को देख रहे हैं, जो तेलंगाना अभी मतलब उतना समय नहीं हुआ, जो हम उत्तराखंड में देख रहे हैं, वहां जो विस्थापन है, जो बाढ़ है, जो सुखाड़ है, जो किसानों की हालात है, और फिर इन हालातों पर जब हम बात करते हैं, जब हम इसको समझने की कोशिश करते हैं कि इन इन जब झारखंड जब अलग हुआ 2000 में, तो सबसे पहले 2002 में पोटा कानून आया। पोटा कानून के तहत 250 लोगों की गिरफ्तारियां हुई, और नहीं, 250 लोगों के ऊपर एफआईआर दर्ज हुआ और दर्जनों लोगों की उसमें गिरफ्तारियां हुई, कई को तो उसमें लाइफ का सजा भी हुआ। तो इस तरह के दमनकारी कानून आए, और कई एमओयू, कंपनियों का मोमेंटम झारखंड हुआ, कई एमओयू साइन हुए, 207 एमओयू किया गया, जिसमें जिंदल, मित्तल, एसआर अंबानी का साइन किया गया। और जब उस एमओयू के खिलाफ में लोग बड़े पैमाने पर आगे बढ़े, तो यूएपीए कानून जैसे 2008 में फिर से अमेंडमेंट करके लाया, फिर 19 में भी हुआ, और ऑपरेशन ग्रीन हंट शुरू किया, जिसमें ऑपरेशन ग्रीन हंट जो झारखंड में शुरू किया, सारंडा और लातेहार के इलाके में। ये इलाका क्या है? माइनिंग। लातेहार के इलाके में बॉक्साइट माइनिंग है, पश्चिम सिंहभूम सारंडा के इलाके में आयरन माइनिंग है। कई तरह के माइंस और मिनरल्स से पूरा झारखंड भरा हुआ है। इन माइनिंग का लूट हो, आसानी से हो, इसके लिए ऑपरेशन ग्रीन हंट, जिसमें कई निहत्थे लोगों की जान गंवानी पड़ी, गांव छोड़ने पड़े। तो इस तरह के एक दमनकारी कानून का इतिहास है, विस्थापन का इतिहास है। तो कई तरह की चीजें साथ साथ चलता है, जो आज भी चीजें चल रही है, चाहे वो छत्तीसगढ़ में हो या झारखंड में जो चल रही हो। तो ये जो एक है कि डेड लाइन दिया है कि 31 मार्च 2026 को जो विद्रोह है, जो आंदोलन है, जल, जंगल, जमीन लूट के खिलाफ जो आंदोलन है, जो अत्याचार के खिलाफ, जो अन्याय के खिलाफ जो आंदोलन है, तो हम पिछले 450 साल, 1600 ईस्वी से ही अगर शुरू करें, जब हमारे देश में ब्रिटिश आया, तब से ही अगर हम बात अगर शुरू करें, तो इन इतिहास को अगर हम देखते हैं, तो पता चलता है कि क्यों, मतलब हर विद्रोह को दबाने की कोशिश की गई, क्या विद्रोह फिर से खड़ा नहीं हुआ? तो क्या ये जो डेडलाइन है, इस डेडलाइन में क्या फिर से इस तरह का विद्रोह उठने की संभावना, आगे होने की संभावना नहीं रह जाती? क्या बिल्कुल खत्म हो जाता है? ऐसे समय में एक बात तो हम सभी भारत सहित पूरे दुनिया के जो मानवाधिकार रक्षक लोग हैं, जो आदिवासी चिंतक लोग हैं, जो आदिवासी सहित देश के शोषित उत्पीड़ित जनता की जो चिंता है, जो जनता की जो भरोसा है, जो हमारे सरकार शायद आजादी के लगभग 80 साल होने जा रहा है, बावजूद हम स्वास्थ्य, शिक्षा, जो बुनियादी जरूरत की चीजें हैं, देने में कामयाब नहीं रहे। तो क्या भ्रष्टाचार जो आज जड़ जमाए बैठे हुए, छोटी छोटी स्कीम में जो कल्याणकारी जो कामें, जो विकास की कामें होते हैं, जो छोटी छोटी स्कीम में, उसमें जो भ्रष्टाचार है, अगर गांव के गलियों में सड़क बन रही है, नाली बन रही है, पुलिया बन रही है, स्कूल का भवन बन रही है, तो उसमें से मतलब 1 लाख रुपये में लगभग 40,000 रुपये सिर्फ कमीशन में जाता है, और उस कमीशन में सभी लोग शामिल होते हैं। तो क्या ऐसे समय में हम उम्मीद कर सकते हैं फिर आप हमारे देश में दो तरह का पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप का जो कंसेप्ट चला है, जो 1990-91 के बाद जो उदारीकरण, भूमंडलीकरण के बाद जो बताई गई कि खुले बाजार होंगे, लोगों को रोजगार मिलेगा, उस रोजगार में भारत के जो मध्य वर्गीय लोग हैं, भारत के जो निम्न वर्गीय लोग हैं, वो कहाँ है, किस पायादान में खड़ा है? आज लाखों शिक्षित बेरोजगार सड़कों में भटक रहे हैं, लाखों लोग बेरोजगार, किसान आत्महत्या कर रहे हैं। यहाँ तक कि बड़े महानगरों में जाके पढ़ने वाले छात्र छात्राएं भी कोटा जैसे जगह में जाके जो पढ़ रहे हैं वो आत्महत्या कर रहे हैं, उनको भविष्य आगे अंधेरा दिखाई दे रहा है। तो जो अब हमारे देश का नीति क्या है कि हर क्षेत्र में पारा मेडिकल हो, पारा टीचर हो, पारा डॉक्टर्स हो, पारा पुलिस हो। मतलब आज हमारे देश में अगर देखा जाए तो नून से सस्ता खून, मतलब नमक से सस्ता आज खून हो गया है। मतलब आज लोगों को एक तरफ आप देखिए कि समान काम के लिए समान वेतन नहीं दिए जा रहा है, थोड़ी सी रोजगार दे करके पारा टीचर, पारा डॉक्टर, पारा नर्स, पारा मेडिकल स्टाफ, पारा पुलिस बना रहे हैं। तो मतलब हम किस तरह का जो हमारे संविधान में कही जाती है फॉर द पीपल, ऑफ द पीपल एंड बाय द पीपल, लेकिन आज सारे कुछ फॉर दी कॉर्पोरेट, ऑफ दी कॉर्पोरेट एंड बाय दी कॉर्पोरेट, उससे भी आगे बढ़ के कि फॉर दी नेता, बाय दी नेता, ये चल रहा है। और जो मतलब ग्लोबलाइजेशन के बाद जो चीजें हो रही है कि हमें इतना सस्ता मजदूर बना दिया जा रहा है कि एक तरफ मतलब लाखों रुपया वेतन है, दूसरी तरफ हमको 20-25 हजार रुपये में और नौकरी करनी पड़ रही है, जीविका चलानी पड़ रही है। फिर एक तरफ कॉर्पोरेट अस्पताल है, एक तरफ आपका कॉर्पोरेट स्कूल है, दूसरी तरफ खिचड़ी खाने वाले स्कूल है, दूसरी तरफ जैसे तैसे सरकार गवर्नमेंट को हॉस्पिटल है जहां डॉक्टर है तो दवा नहीं, दवा है तो डॉक्टर नहीं, ऐसे सिस्टम जहां काम कर रही हो। और ऐसे समय में जब सत्ता के दुर्नीति के खिलाफ जब एक अवसर आता है तो मैं देश के गृह मंत्री, माननीय गृह मंत्री अमित शाह जी, हमारे देश के प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी, छत्तीसगढ़ के मुख्यमंत्री और झारखंड के मुख्यमंत्री हेमंत सोरेन जी, हम सभी को और हमें पूरी दुनिया के सिविल सोसाइटी को, मानवाधिकार कर्मी को, सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता को, राजनीतिक कार्यकर्ता को, क्या ये नहीं लगता कि जो लोग मतलब इन सब इशू पे काम कर रहे हैं, जो आदिवासी अस्तित्व को, जल जंगल जमीन बचाने के लिए, एक तो आप देखिए कि इन इतिहासों में अगर आप छान मारेंगे, देखेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि आदिवासियों ने कभी सरकार से कुछ मांगा नहीं। मांगा तो सिर्फ इतना कि मेरे पास जो है जल जंगल जमीन, जो जीविका का संसाधन है, खेत खलिहान, पहाड़ी, नदी नाला, वो मेरा सुरक्षित रहने दिया जाए। अब उस पर आप हर बार हमला किए, ब्रिटिश ने हमला किया, आपने भी उसको लेने का कोशिश किया। और जो विस्थापन पुनर्वास का जो कानून बनाया गया 1894 में ब्रिटिश ने बनाया, फिर भारत ने 2013 में बनाया, जो पुनर्वास और विस्थापन जो कहीं मेंटेन नहीं किया गया। कुछ ही लोगों को मतलब मुआवजा मिल पाया, कुछ ही लोगों को नौकरी मिल पाया, बहुत कम लोगों का। और जो कानून में प्रावधान है कि अगर माइनिंग आप कर लिए तो फिर से उसको खेती लायक जमीन को बना करके जो मूल रैयत है उसको वापस करना है, जो भारत में कहीं भी नहीं हुआ। तो एक मतलब छलावा है, इनके साथ धोखा है। और इस दुर्नीति के खिलाफ जब संघर्षरत लोग हैं, बात करने चाहते हैं, तो ऐसी अवसर भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लोग को नहीं गंवाना चाहिए। अगर वो इनसे बात करते, अगर भारत सरकार को ये भी चाहिए और हमारी सिविल सोसाइटी का ये भी मांग होनी चाहिए कि जो इनके ऊपर जो प्रतिबंध है वो प्रतिबंध हटा करके खुले गोलमेज सम्मेलन में बात करना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये हमारे ही देश के नागरिक है, हमारे ही देश के आदिवासी है, सिर्फ नागरिक नहीं, ये हमारे देश के आदि से वास करने वाले वासी हैं जो हमसे नाराज हैं। तो इनसे सिर्फ मतलब बात ही नहीं करना चाहिए, बल्कि इनसे पूरी चीजों से अगर ये बात कर लेती भारतीय जनता पार्टी तो इतिहास में शायद मील का पत्थर साबित होता। क्योंकि ये जो 400 साल का विद्रोह का जो इतिहास है और विद्रोह का जो ताकत देने का जो शर्त है, जुल्म, अत्याचार, और सबके जड़ में जो सामंतवाद और पूंजीवाद है, इस जुल्म के पीछे लोगों को आज भी हम रोटी, कपड़ा, मकान, मूलभूत सुविधा को अगर सुनिश्चित नहीं कर पाए हैं तो इसका जड़ में कहीं ना कहीं हमारे संविधान और हमारे देश के जो प्रबुद्ध नागरिक है, जो हमारे देश के नेता मंत्री हैं, वो जिम्मेवार हैं। और हम सब इसका जिम्मेवार होंगे अगर हम उसको उनसे बात नहीं करते हैं, उनसे हम अगर उनको हम बुलाते नहीं हैं। चूंकि राजनीतिक पार्टियों में भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लिए एक बड़े कामयाबी हो सकती थी, इतिहास के पन्नों में एक मील का पत्थर साबित हो सकता था, जो शायद सत्ता में रह करके चूर हो करके इनको शायद वो चीजें समझ में नहीं आ रही। लेकिन आप सबों से विनम्र विनती होगा, आप सभी दुनिया भर के लोगों से, दुनिया भर के मानवाधिकार कार्यकर्ताओं से, सामाजिक कार्यकर्ताओं से, आप सभी से अपील होगा कि हम एक बात तो सीधी सी समझनी होगी हम लोगों को कि हम मान लेते हैं कि देश के विकास के लिए सारी चीजें किया जा रहा है, लेकिन क्यों ऐसा दुर्नीति क्यों है कि अगर हमारे देश में दवा है फिर भी हमें ट्रीटमेंट नहीं मिल रही, दवा नहीं मिल रही। हमारे देश में अन्न है फिर भी लोग भूखे मर रहे हैं। हमारे देश में स्कूल है, हम पढ़ नहीं पा रहे हैं। हमारे देश में कॉरपोरेट और गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल है फिर भी हमारे लोगों को इलाज नहीं मिल रही। तो कहीं ना कहीं कमियां है और इस कमियों पर बात लोग करेंगे ही। और बात करना, अब कोई भी सजग सतर्क नागरिक, पढ़ा लिखा व्यक्ति अगर इस पर बात नहीं करेंगे तो किस पर बात करेंगे? अरस्तु ने कहा है समाज, मनुष्य जो है एक सामाजिक प्राणी है, वो समाज के बारे में बात करेंगे। तो इन सब बातों से लगता है क्यों क्यों जब एक देश, एक वोट हो सकता है तो एक शिक्षा, एक स्वास्थ्य क्यों नहीं हो सकता है? यहां से हम क्यों शुरू नहीं कर सकते हैं? क्यों एक देश में दो तरह की शिक्षा होगा, दो तरह को एक ही काम के लिए दो तरह की वेतन दिया जाएगा? इस तरह का दुर्नीति रहेगा सत्ता की, तो शायद विद्रोह का जो स्रोत है, विद्रोह को जो ताकत प्राप्त करने की स्रोत है, वो मिलता रहेगा। और ये यकीन मानिए कि राष्ट्र कवि दिनकर ने कहा है कि दुनिया में शांति उसी दिन आएगा जब सारे देश के जो पुलिस फौज मिलिट्री है वो हथियार रख देगा। और अगर बंदूक समाधान, हिंसा का समाधान नहीं है, तो स्टेट का बंदूक भी हिंसा का समाधान, किसी का भी बंदूक हिंसा का समाधान नहीं हो सकता। जो हमारे राष्ट्र कवि दिनकर ने भी कहे हैं कि दुनिया में तभी शांति बहाल होगा जब सभी लोग अपने अपने बॉर्डर से आर्मी और मिलिट्री हटा लेंगे, उसी दिन दुनिया में शांति कायम होगा। तो हम सबसे पहले लोगों की स्मिता का, लोगों की जो अपनी जीविका का संसाधन है, जल जंगल जमीन संस्कृति और उनकी पूरी अस्मिता का रिस्पेक्ट करना होगा। और हम सब इसमें अपनी बात रख करके आप सबों से विनम्र निवेदन है कि आप सब भी बहुत अच्छे से काम कर रहे हैं। आप सभी लोग को मैं फिर से पुनः धन्यवाद देता हूं। जोहार। मैं अपनी बात समाप्त करता हूं।
शुक्रिया, थैंक यू सो मच दामोदर जी। आपने पूरा इतिहास से लेके अब तक पूरा जो कनेक्शन बनाया उसके लिए बहुत थैंक यू। सो वीजू जी, आई वुड नाउ आई इनवाइट यू टू yes, pick up from where Damodar left. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you. A very important issue that is being discussed here about how the state
Network is a bit thin. Can you?
capitalism and the violence that do away with the video.
Yes, I think that will be better. Yeah.
A very important discussion is happening today about how the state is acting as an agent of corporate capitalism. In fact, I would say it is acting as an agent of oligarchies, really monopoly capitalists in the last few years. And taking from what Damodar has already spoken, from the time of the independence itself, the kind of the ruling class agenda, if you look at, for instance, from the very beginning, the basic demands of the people like land reforms, land rights, forest rights, these are something which has been denied to a vast majority of our country, the people of our country. And according to an estimate by PC Mahalanobis during the first 5-year plan itself, that if the surplus land was taken over, about 6 crore people would have benefited. 6 crore acres of surplus land would have accrued to the Indian people. That has so far not still the unfinished land reforms. The agenda of land reforms remains unfinished. So
Vijay,
you
your
have
voice
a
is not clear.
extremely unequal society that we have, and with concentration of land, concentration of wealth that has been in few hands. Today, 1% of the richest Indians. From the very beginning, the ruling classes have not implemented the promises that were made even during the freedom struggle. How the land reforms was scuttled in our country is known to all. According to PC Mahalanobis, about 6 crore acres, that would be 60 million acres of surplus land would be available for distribution to the landless if the land ceiling laws were implemented effectively. So it has been a bourgeois landlord's state under the leadership of the big bourgeoisie. And especially in the last 10 years, this has the control of the corporate companies, the big monopolies, has increased in our country, and they are determining the policy direction of this government. That is what we see. And what Damodar already mentioned, the inequalities in our country, with 1% of the population, the richest, controlling about 40% of the wealth, while vast majority of our country, the people are not having even the wherewithal to have a meal a day. That is the situation. We feature continuously, very dismally, on the global hunger index. Malnutrition, hunger deaths are also rising, though the government keeps is itself in a denial mode. And in this last 10 years, also there has been increased attempt to forcibly acquire land in a big way for the corporate companies. And that has led to major conflicts in different parts of the country. As per a report, more than 1,000 spots in India, there are struggles going on against displacement, against the forcible land acquisition, which is happening in our country. Along with that, you have a large mass of the country which is dependent on agriculture, or many of them are also agriculture labor and daily wages. What is the situation as far as this section is concerned? The poorest of the Indian population, if you look at their condition, the promises made in 2014 was that once Narendra Modi and BJP comes to power, everything would be set right. Achhe din aayenge. Good days will come for all, the working people, for the farmers, agriculture, labor, the oppressed sections, Dalits, Adivasis, the women, the youth, and so on. About 20 million jobs every year was promised. That would have, it is the 11th year running now, with unemployment at its highest probably post-independence. That is the situation that our country is lingering in now. In the last 11 years, more than 500,000 farmers, agriculture workers, and daily wage workers, who are migrant workers, who migrate from the rural areas, from the families of farmers and agriculture laborers, from families of tenant farmers, they migrate to the urban areas in search of jobs. Altogether, about 500,000 of them, this is the official figure, have committed suicide because they are unable to meet ends. They are drawn into a indebtedness, extreme indebtedness, and with no earning in hand, they are forced to commit suicide. That is the situation. That's a human tragedy of this magnitude. Unfortunately, it is an infamy that only a country like India can claim. In the entire history of humankind, you won't have a situation wherein this large number of people committing suicide because of the policies of the government, because of the crisis created. It is a policy-driven crisis that we are facing. So this is another situation. Massive land acquisition, I already mentioned. The poverty, increase in poverty, though the government is making big claims that we are the fourth largest economy in the world, it's anyone's guess that it's as big a lie as the many other lies that Narendra Modi and BJP have been making from 2014 onwards. There is also, in addition to the repressive machinery of the state being used to finish off the Maoists in Bastar and other regions of India, Chhattisgarh and Telangana and all that. You see the very language that is being used by the Home Minister will eradicate Maoism, will wipe out Naxalism by March 2026. This is the last assault and extreme militarization that is happening in these regions. More than 400 people in the last 16 months have been killed. Many of them, the people of the region vouch for that. They are not all of them are Maoists. There are many instances of fake encounters which are being brought to light. So that is the situation. On the other hand, the legal framework, which would have given some protection to the most oppressed sections, the Adivasis, for instance, the Forest Rights Act, the PESA Act. These kind of acts also are being subverted. The claims for forest rights are being denied to the tribals and the Adivasis and the traditional forest dwellers, in the name of different wildlife conservation, for instance, tiger conservation project, in the name of elephant corridor and so on. Thousands and thousands of acres of land are being taken over, and also it is the people on those lands are being evicted. That is something which we are witnessing. I recollect when I visited one of the regions in Nilgiri district of Tamil Nadu, in the south of India, one of the old ladies talking to me was mentioning that there's a corridor for elephants, there should be a corridor for the Toda tribes who are fast on facing extinction, and a corridor where none of these repressive rules and acts, legislations will be applicable on them. A simple women, tribal women in the Toda tribal women was referring to me like that. Many of these areas, there is absolutely no prior informed consent on projects. There is no discussion with the Gram Sabhas, the village councils and so on. And it is just pushed through with brute force, with absolutely no democratic interaction, space for any democratic discussion. And that is very important, because if you look at the approach of the union government today, repeatedly the Maoist leadership has been speaking about talks to resolve the issue. And any in a civilized world, any government would have taken that opportunity for having a discussion, because this is not something which can be finished off by or the annihilation policy which they are taking. That is not going to end this problem. The problem is much deeper. It is a political dialogue is required. That is, I come from an organization which has very clear differences with the Maoists on many issues. But we feel this kind of a repression that has been unleashed, that is not acceptable in any democracy for that matter, and there should be dialogue. Unfortunately, that is not the approach that the government is following. What is the reason for this? That is where I think Damodar was mentioning about from the time of the British period itself, some of these areas which are largely inhabited by the Adivasi community, the tribal people, are very resource rich. Minerals, the timber, also mostly coal and other minerals, many other minerals also are available in these regions. There is also a talk about which different people have, it has been increasingly talk about from Bastar to Mundra port, talk about an underground railway. It is being denied by many, but there is such a talk to benefit some of the big corporate companies. In Chhattisgarh itself, we know how the pristine forest area, the Aranya there, which was Hasdev Aranya, was totally to the benefit of the Adanis. And big resistance, big peaceful resistance built by different farmers organizations, but the government has not been willing to talk to any of them. So you have a unresponsive state as far as the basic demands of the people are concerned. They are not willing to have any democratic dialogue, let alone with Maoists. They are who are actually carrying on a armed struggle, even with the other organizations. Dr. Darshan Pal will vouch for me, because we had the years of struggle of the farmers, United Movement of the Farmers. For 1 year, the struggle went on, peaceful struggle in the borders of Delhi and across the country. 736 farmers died during the struggle. And the government, which withdrew the 3 Farm Acts at that time, which was opposed by the farmers and agriculture workers and working class, has just after coming to power the 3rd time come with the draft policy framework for agriculture marketing. The 4 labor codes, which snatches all the powers of the working class, that you cannot have unionize, you cannot unionize, you have to work more than 8 hours a day, 12 in some. One of the CEO of Larsen and Toubro was mentioning that even Sundays, there should not be any day off, even on Sundays, and 90 hours of work in a week. This former CEO of Infosys, Narayan Murthy, was mentioning about 12-hour workday, and our Prime Minister is going on in that direction. Electricity is being privatized in a big way. The prepaid smart meters being brought in so that the corporates can rake in huge profits. Education already in a big way, it is being privatized. Health is being privatized. We know what is the impact of all these, especially on the economically poorest, the most oppressed sections. The children are dropping out from schools. Their schools are not having any infrastructure. Teachers are not being appointed. Health infrastructure. It is worth mentioning here, during the COVID, we had a poetess from Gujarat named Parul Kakkar, who wrote a poem, Shavvahini Ganga, how the Ganga is carrying dead bodies, because they were floating dead bodies on the Ganga, unclaimed bodies who were just disposed of during that time, people who died without oxygen. Today, we are coming out, figures are coming out that the numbers of people who died during the COVID pandemic in India is far, far higher than what the government has been so far putting forward. It is I would say not 10 times higher, not 20 times higher, maybe even more than 100 times higher than what the government has been quoting. So that is the nature of the government that we have. It's a corporate communal government, extremely authoritarian, doing away with all the guarantees for democracy that our constitution guarantees, doing away with our secular credentials. The constitutional bodies, including the judiciary, the election commission, all are being tampered. Recently, in the judiciary, you have had a dissent by a judge against the inclusion. There are 3 judges from Gujarat, and the special intensive revision of electoral rolls in Bihar has literally denied more than 65 lakh people, 6.5 million people, the right to vote. These you can see how it is increasingly under the control of the fascist RSS. The Hindutva agenda is being carried, Hindutva corporate agenda. It's going towards a corporate Raj of some oligarchs who are close to the BJP government. So that is the direction in which it's going. But I think we have no reason to be pessimistic regarding the situation, because the historic farmers' struggle, where workers and agriculture workers and all sections of people came together, forced this government to bow down and withdraw the 3 Farm Acts. There have been earlier, the land acquisition ordinance could be withdrawn. So in such kind, even for ensuring that violations of human rights of this kind, which is going on, against that, much more awareness and much bigger movements are required. It is very important. I think in that direction, this discussion that we are having today is very important. And I would place my appreciation for the team which has put together such a discussion. Damodar has already spoken. Dr. Darshanpal also is a very experienced leader of the Samyukta Kisan Morcha. He will be placing his views too. I thank you for this opportunity, and I will conclude my presentation here. Unfortunately, I would have liked to listen to Dr. Darshanpal too, but I have another engagement which has suddenly come up.
Thank you so much, Vijayji. And now I would like to bring in Dr. Darshanpalji for his comments on what has been spoken and what he will add to what has already been said regarding the how the Indian state acts as is like a agent of corporatization. Darshanpalji,
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Lutika, thank you very much, and thank you very much for INSAF and other forums who have invited me to present my views in this discussion. I am very poor in English and Hindi both, so I am Punjabi. That's one thing. Secondly, I'll try to stress on the say. On the issues and facts, and also that how we can fight against the state who is serving the corporates. I will bring you some of the examples from the farmers movement of 2020 and 21st. And I am of the opinion that in India, whether it is whether they are the 3 agriculture laws which were brought by the Modi government in 2020, or it may be the free trade agreement with the US or the other countries, or it can be the acquisition of land by the policy of land pooling policy of the Punjab government, or it can be the other, policies of the government of India or a state government, in which we have to fight against those, and we have to build a narrative that without struggle, without fighting, without building a alternative model, we can't place, we can't keep or we can't build up a dream for the people that we can fight and we can also defeat our enemies also, whether they are in the in the forest areas or they are in the plain areas, or whether they are the farmers or the Adivasis or Dalits or women or any marginalized people, they have to fight against that. That is what I want to stress on, because I am basically from the very young age I am a struggling person. I always try to put my views that how can we fight, how can we struggle, and how can we defeat our enemy. So I will bring to the kind notice of the audience of this seminar or of this webinar that I will start from the point that in India, the government of India, led by the Narendra Modi ji, it tried to challenge the farmers or the peasants or the people who are working in the agriculture in India. Particularly, the issue was in 2020 that the people who were not related with agriculture, neither they were agriculture scientists, neither they were agriculture activists, neither they were, nor they were the agriculture, say, farmer from the farmers organizations. So they brought three ordinances in the month of June 2020, when we were facing the corona lockdown all over the world and in India also. So at that time, because personally I was involved in that. So at that time, we came to the conclusion that it is the attack of corporate houses on the agriculture. Because at three levels, at that time, corporate houses tried to occupy the agriculture in the production field also, because they were saying that let us try to get your land for the contract agriculture. And that was, for us, that was the very challenging issue, that if our land is taken by the corporates, because corporates have a lot of money, they can rent in at any rate our land. So at that time, we challenged that if our land is taken by the corporates, and the slogan we gave it, that this is not the issue of zameen, land means zameen. This is the issue of our zamir also, our future generations also, what our future generations will do. So we challenge that in that way, that we won't get you our lands, neither in a contractual form nor in any other way. So at that point, that was the one point. Second was that they tried to capture the marketing system which was developed particularly in the northern India by the second law. And third was that they tried to capture the storage or the, say, distribution system of the production of in the agriculture, maybe grains or the pulses or the oil seeds. So at the three levels, we we discussed among ourselves, and also we formed a big morcha. It was not a simple thing, because we started from the very low level in the corona lockdown period. We struggled in Punjab. In Punjab, we started with small demonstrations, and from small to the bigger demonstrations, and from bigger demonstration to the Band. Band means calling that whole Punjab will be closed on that particular day, and finally coordinating with the all organization, and then finally deciding that now we will march toward Delhi. And on 26th March, before 26th March, we challenged the BJP government in Delhi We challenged this Adani and Ambani, their corporate houses. We boycotted their products. We boycotted their services, and also we boycotted and also we had a struggle with the BJP leaders who were in the center, and also at other side we stopped all the trains which were entering and going from the Punjab, and from 1st of October we blocked the train railway lines all over the Punjab at 45 places. 45 places. So at that time we were fighting against the BJP government, we were fighting against the corporate houses, we were fighting against the BJP party also. And that, so that was, that is, and that should be also the tactics and strategy to fight out against the enemies or the corporate houses and the corporate houses representative in our country. For example, nowadays we are struggling and we are calling the Delhi that if the Modi government goes with the say with the Trump government, and they are going to have a negotiation with them to have a say free trade agreement, and in that free trade agreement they sell the interest of the agrarian community, then the our farmers organization, they will resent against that. And I am sure that Modi ji, when he is saying on the say centenary birthday of this Swaminathan ji, that I will not sacrifice the interest of the farmers, poultry farmers, and also the milk, livestock owners, and the say milk producers. That is the pressure of the movement of the farmers in India. That is the point I want to say. So now the question is that corporate houses are trying to get the not only the land, even the minerals which are which are in the Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Orissa, Telangana, which are in the say underground in the land. They are trying to get Tatas and Adanis and other. They are trying to get that also. And on the other hand, they are trying to get the agriculture sector to be say taken by them also. They are trying for that also. So at all levels, the struggles is going on. At all levels, the struggle is going on. And in that context, I want to say that this Sanyukt Kisan Morcha, which have struggled with more than 740 people sacrificing, daily, 2 dead bodies were coming from New Delhi borders to the Punjab. 2 dead bodies were daily coming from that protest area. Number 2, and a lot of people were suffering there from the other issues also. So we at that time we had faced lot of rainy season, lot of storms, lot of other things, lot of hot weathers, lot of cold weathers. All was passed through for those 13 months. So for what I want to make and more stress is that people in the people of India, or the people of India of different classes, whether they are the farmers or the workers or the say Adivasis or the Dalits, they have to come forward with their united actions. We have to form a big united front at all India level and lower level also. That is the lessons we have learned in the last many years. So in that context, I want to say is that when we were fighting that struggle was basically, you know, that at that time we boycotted the telephone services of Ambani ji. We boycotted the Reliance, their petrol pumps also. We out the Adani's silos and others. So there should be struggle. They are the enemies of the people. They are exploiting the people. They are exploiting our resources. They have a collaboration with the international, corporate houses. So we have to fight against that. And the more important question is, I agree with the Damodarji, I agree with the, say, Vijuji. These facts are there, these statistics are there. But the more important question for me as a practical person is, and a struggling, representing a struggling organization, is that how can we plan a strategy? How can we plan a bigger mass movement against these people? Because no doubt, all over the world, I see all over the world, the situation is becoming like the fascist forces, like in the say in US, Trump people, Meloni in Italy, Modi ji in India. The fascist forces are dominating, are coming more and more in the world. Number one. Number two, they are collaborating more and more in the world. Number three, the unity of the people who were fighting and who should fight against these corporate houses is becoming more and more diluted or more and more weak in the past days. So the need is of the need of the hour is that we should try to build up that unity, that stronger and stronger united front against these policies of the New Delhi government or the Modi ji's fascist regime. Because this effort, as Biju said, the all Modi ji's policies, whether there is a question of having talks with the Maoist people or there is a repression on the Maoist people, we know that. So in that background, we should build a big movement of the people all over India on the issues of the people, on the common issues of the people, and should build a big front of the people all over, from the village level to the town level to the district level to all over India. There should be a big, powerful movement of the people. That is what I am of the opinion that in the last, say, 5 years, there is a one consolidation of the unity of the workers and peasants or the farmers of the India in the form of trade unions and the farmers organization in the banner of the Sanyukt Kisan Morcha or the other Kisan Morchas which are there in India. So in that background, if I want to stress is there is a situation, there is an objectivity in India that people in every state, they identify themselves with the and they have a credibility also that we are the identical, we have a common identity right from the Jammu Kashmir to the Tamil Nadu, right from the northeast to the Rajasthan, that we can have a common identity in the form of say peasant farmers, based on the agriculture, and also as a workers also. And there are the possibilities becoming more and more, say, more and more clear also and sharp also, that all over the capital corporate houses, their attack on all of these people is sharpening, is becoming more and more intensive, and more, say, people are becoming, say, more not only conscious only, but they're struggling, trying, they want to struggle against them also. So now it is the responsibility of the organization, responsibility of the leaders of the organization, responsibility of the leaders of the movements, different movements of India. I don't think there are movements in the Tamil Nadu, there are movements in the Kerala, there are movements in the Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, but those movements are disintegrated. Those movements are not united. Those movements on the different issues, those movements are on different demands and different, say, sections. Now, in a country like India, there is a strong need of the representative of the struggle, representative of the organization, representative of the morchas, that they should try to bring all those forces, all those movements together from all over India. But they are, say, for example, farmers, workers, women, Adivasis, Dalits, or suppressed or oppressed people. They have their own forums, they have their own struggle, they have their own issues. Who will bring them together? That, no. So in that context, I want to stress is that that is the need that the struggling people have identified themselves with the common identified people all over the India, and there is a need to bring them together to fight out the exploitative, oppressive sections of the Indian state and also the fascist Indian state to fight against them. So what I want to, my other people, my two speakers before me, they have explained the theoretical, historical, ideological things to them also. But I, Darshan Pal, a representative of the movement, I am of the strong view until and unless the representatives of the movement don't think about the continuous struggle, because against the colonial era, the people were struggling continuously, consistently, everywhere, at every time. The struggle against fascistic regimes, struggle against exploitative regimes, struggle against these such autocratic regimes should have a continuous, consistent character also. For that, the responsibility lies on the shoulders of the representatives of the struggling organization which are there in India, in each and every state, and that should be coordinated, that should be communicated, those should be brought together, and that movement can only challenge the Indian state, and that movement can challenge the say corporate houses, whether they are trying to penetrate in the agriculture, or they are penetrating the Indian economy, or they are trying to exploit and oppress the people of India, or the say toiling masses of India. That is the only way I think we should try to build up a movement. And with these words, I conclude my things. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Darshan Palji. Thank you so much for your contribution. All three speakers, I'm really grateful, have made this webinar so rich. अब हम हमारे पास थोड़े से क्वेश्चन आंसर ये हैं, प्रश्न उत्तर हैं चैट में. So I'm just going to quickly speak the questions in English also, and then I will ask you to speak. So the first set of questions was about how can we, people who are outside, whether we are students or whether we are diasporic Indians and the international community as a whole, how can we stand in solidarity and do something meaningful instead of just watching from a distance? And the second question was that how can we learn from Bangladesh? They have managed to topple the Sheikh Hasina regime. Is it due to weaker corporate power there or stronger people's power? What lessons can we learn? And the last question from Marukush from the Bodo indigenous community in Assam, that as we know, that a lot of land has been allotted to the Ambani and Adani groups recently in Assam, and he's asking, if you have suggestions for them as to how to struggle and resist this. So पहले दामोदर जी आप बोलेंगे?
जी दर्शन जी को बोलने दीजिए, फिर मैं बोलता हूँ.
अच्छा, ओके. दर्शन पाल जी आप आ जाइए फिर. थैंक यू.
For the first question, say the situation for me being in India, and how can I say pay solidarity to the Palestinians or the Gazan people, is the same for you, for the Indian people struggle. So it's our international duty that you in England, you have to do two things. Number one, You have to fight out against the corporate houses in England and also the international corporate houses, the international capital in England, which is exploiting and oppressing the workers and the toiling section of the England, number one. And by doing that, you will be having solidarity, or you will be helping your brothers and sisters in India also. Number two. Number three, also, you can build some solidarity groups with the movements of India, and continuously you can have interaction with your say Indian contingents who are building struggles in India. And that solidarity from England, from London, from Birmingham, from say those Coventry or the other areas, if it comes in the form of social media news or social media anything, it gives a moral support to the people who will be fighting in India. So in that way, we can help each other. And also sometimes, sometimes I feel, Malke Delhi, when I read some newspaper, Delhi, I get depressed when I read CNN, New York Times, or the khas karke Al Jazeera about the situation in Gaza or situation in Palestine. And I am helpless. What can I do that in that? But in that sense, I think you people in England, you are somewhat more resourceful, more say coordinated. You can do certain things more easily than we people in the third world can do. So you can do. I think you should, which I said, there are the enemies of the people. Say today, this Tony Blair, ex-PM of UK, he went and attended a meeting in White House yesterday. And there is a plan that a Rivera can be built up in the Gaza, and that should be opposed by the people of England. Why Tony Blair is going to the White House? Similarly, if somebody from India is coming to the say UK, you people can have some protest against those people who are running a repressive machinery in India, killing people, making say false encounters, and also having say in many and also punishing the minorities, Muslims, Maoists, Dalits in India, and all those issues can be raised, and that will give a moral support, and that will give a political ideological support to the people who are fighting in India. That is the first question. Second, Bangladesh. In my say views, it's not the Bangladesh only. It is Sri Lanka also. India. India is a country with lot of diversities. Say I am from Punjab, but the Tamil farmers or the Tamil person, they don't have anything common with me, neither language nor culture nor value system. So in that context, the classes, say for example, peasants and workers, they unite us. They make a unity of us, number one. Number two, as in Bangladesh or in Sri Lanka or in other countries also, in Latin America also, or in many other countries also, lot of people have to fight out against the corporate houses, against the imperialism, which against the fascism also. In that context, what I was saying in my previous views, that we have to build a big mass movement, mass upsurge, mass a people's revolt against all these people, and we have to coordinate, unite all those people, because again I want to stress it, in country like India, it's very, very difficult, because I have told you that lot of diversities are there. Then we have to bring some common, say, ingredients of the people, of the working people of India together, so that they can identify them, and a credibility of that identity is built up, and their struggle is built up, or their united forum is built up. That is needed, and that will be a conscious effort of the people, conscious effort of the representative of those classes, those section of the people, of those particular regions. They have to come together. So in that context, I appreciate that question of Bangladesh. Bangladesh, maybe, as I know that Spring Thunder and other revolutions in countries, they take place under the, say, with the help of CIA and other things, and Bangladesh may also be there. But for the real changes, real upsurge, the question of uniting, coordinating, and bringing people into the struggle remains, and that for that the representative of the struggling people, they have to sit together. They have to sit together, theorize, and have to come out of the spontaneity of the say the spontaneous attitude of the movement. They have to plan it, and planning can only say bring more results, more, if say, more credibility of the movement also. That is second. Third, I think this Assam people, which they say that happens in, say, for example, in Punjab, recently Punjab government came with a policy, land pooling policy, 65,000 acres of land. It was to be pooled of the farmers. So we, Punjabi farmers organization, political parties, social religious organization, all were in the struggle. And finally, say within 2-3 months, government to get back, and government has take back that policy, denotified that. Again, some policy will come. Similarly, that agriculture marketing draft policy came by the central government to the Punjab government, and we pressed. We had a struggle against the Punjab government. The Punjab government was compelled to pass a resolution in the assembly that they did not agree. They do not agree with that policy of the central government. So I want to stress is that whether it is Assam or tribal areas, land is being taken, different say policies, or the say Land Acquisition Act Law 2013. We have to build a struggle. Lot of Bharatmala project, lot of land for the. So you should remember that in Bengal, Nandigram, and many of the struggles went so strong that CPM has to lose its social and political background with those struggles. So similarly, the struggles for land, struggle for the, say, other issues, that should be built in such a way that struggle becomes say a representation of the people of that particular class and joint struggle, that it should become a lesson for the coming say our youth and others also. In that way only can fight out these things. Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच जी। दामोदर जी, अब आप अपने हाँ रखना चाहेंगे बिंदु?
जी हाँ, मैं रखना चाहूंगा।
थैंक यू जी।
ये छात्रों का जो सवाल है कि वो कैसे समर्थन करेंगे, तो एक तो है कि सोशल मीडिया जो दर्शन जी बताए, और एक कोऑर्डिनेशन होना चाहिए छात्रों का, बुद्धिजीवियों का, जो आंदोलनकारी है, जो मानवाधिकार कर्मी है, उनका एक कोऑर्डिनेशन अंतर्राष्ट्रीय लेवल का बनना चाहिए। तभी हमको लगता है कि सहजता से ये काम हो सके। इंडिया में जो हो रहा है वो पूरी दुनिया को पता चले, यूक्रेन में जो हो रहा है वो पूरी दुनिया को पता चले, गाजा में जो हो रहा है उसका पता चले। एक कोऑर्डिनेशन डेवलप करना चाहिए वर्ल्ड लेवल का, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय लेवल का, तभी मतलब एक दूसरे को हम समर्थन कर पाएंगे। चूंकि जो कॉर्पोरेट घराना है, जो पूंजीवाद है, साम्राज्यवाद है, उनका ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, तो हम मजदूर किसानों को, छात्रों का, सामाजिक कार्यकर्ताओं का ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए? उनका WTO है, वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, हमारे भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन होना चाहिए, ताकि हम भी अपनी पीड़ा को, अपने दुख को एक दूसरे से शेयरिंग कर सके और समझ बना सके। दूसरा कि बांग्लादेश का जो है वो जो भारत विविधता में एकता है, जो दर्शन जी ने मेंशन किया है, तो बांग्लादेश का पर तो अभी हमें और समझ बनाना चाहिए, उसमें और थोड़ी सी रिसर्च करके ही कुछ भारत के लिए या अन्य देशों के लिए अपना ओपिनियन बनाना चाहिए। जमीन बचाने की जो बात है, तो जमीन बचाने का जितने भी लड़ाई झारखंड में हुआ है, जितने भी जन आंदोलन हुआ है, चाहे कोयल कारो जन आंदोलन हो या फिर काठी कुंड दुमका का जन आंदोलन हो, जन आंदोलन भले सरकार के तरफ से फायरिंग हुई, कुछ लोग मारे गए, लेकिन जमीन तो बड़ा जन आंदोलन से ही बचता है। दूसरी बात है कि जमीन के इशू पे थोड़ा सा हमको फोकस जो करना है कि जमीन बचाना भी है और जमीन को बांटना भी है। मतलब है क्या, जमीन का कोई 2000 एकड़ का मालिक है, कोई 1000 एकड़ का मालिक है, और उसमें बाकी जो छोटे किसान है, जो गरीब किसान है, वो भाग बंटवारे में करते हैं, तो वहां हमारी एकता कमजोर होती है। तो अगर ऐसी सिचुएशन है, मैं पार्टिकुलर आसाम के बारे में नहीं बोल रहा हूं, जहां भी ऐसा सिचुएशन है कि कुछ लोग लैंडलेस है, कुछ लोगों के पास बहुत ज्यादा लैंड है, जो आज भी जमींदार बने हुए हैं, जमींदारों की गिनती में आते हैं, उनको, उनकी जमीन को, जो लैंडलेस लोग हैं उनको जमीन देना होगा, चाहे वो दलित हो, आदिवासी हो, अदर कोई भी कम्युनिटी का हो, वो फॉरवर्ड कम्युनिटी हो, जो भी कम्युनिटी का है, अगर वो लैंडलेस है तो जिनके पास लैंड है वो भी सोचना पड़ेगा। जिंदल, मित्तल, SR अंबानी तो लूट ही रहे हैं, अडानी तो जमीन का लूट कर रहे हैं। जमीन को लूट से बचाने के साथ साथ जिनको जमीन नहीं है उनको जमीन देने पर भी हमें चर्चा करना चाहिए और आगे बढ़ना चाहिए। धन्यवाद। जोहार।
Thank you so much, Ji. I would like to thank everybody who has stayed with us. Continue to be with us as we now thank our very honored guests for their immense contribution to our series and to this session.
धन्यवाद। जोहार।
I think I will
Thank you
end.
very much. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you so
Johar.
much.
Thank you.
Good night and good evening, or Johar, आप सभी को. Thank you.